Quish. Ladies and gentlemen, Quish. Today I invite you to reflect on a powerful and often hidden aspect of human existence, the pain body, Linquish. The pain body is not something we see with our eyes, Quish, when yet its presence can be felt in the deepest layers of our emotional life, Quish. It is the accumulation of old emotional pain, unresolved wounds from our past, Quish, and echoes of suffering that remain alive within us, relinquish. Every painful memory that was never fully processed leaves behind an imprint, relinquish. And over time, these imprints form a field of energy that can awaken in certain moments and influence the way we think, relinquish, feel, and act. The pain body plays a profound role in shaping human behavior, relinquish. When triggered, it rises to the surface and takes over our perception, quish, clouding our clarity and distorting reality. A simple disagreement can ignite it, quish, and suddenly the energy of past hurts rushes into the present. In these moments, relinquish. We are not merely responding to what is happening right now, quish. We are reliving old wounds that demand recognition, quish. This is why small situations can feel overwhelming, quish. Why anger or despair may surge in us without clear reason, quish. The pain body feeds on negativity and conflict, and if left unconscious, relinquish. It compels us to repeat cycles of suffering again and again. Yet, quish, within this recognition lies the opportunity for transformation, quish. To see the pain body for what it is, a bundle of old pain seeking expression, gives us the chance to step into awareness, quish. Awareness itself is the light that dissolves the pain body's grip, relinquish. Instead of reacting blindly, we can observe. Instead of identifying with its voice, relinquish, we can witness its rise and fall. This is not an easy task, relinquish, but it is one of the most liberating practices a human being can embrace, quish. The role of the pain body, therefore, is paradoxical. On one hand, quish, it is a carrier of suffering, repeating the story of our wounds. On the other, quish, when is a teacher, relinquish, pushing us toward awakening by showing us where we are still unconscious, relinquish, where we still cling to the past. Every time the pain body arises, quish, it presents an invitation, quish, to either fall deeper into unconsciousness or to step into presence. In this way, quish, the pain body becomes not an enemy, but a doorway to greater freedom, quish. By recognizing its role in our lives, quish, we begin to reclaim power from the patterns that once controlled us, quish. We stop blaming others for awakening our pain and instead see it as an opportunity to grow in awareness, quish. Slowly, through the light of presence, the pain, body loses its strength. It no longer dictates our emotions, nor fuels our conflicts. Instead, it becomes a reminder of the power of consciousness to transform suffering into wisdom. The role of the pain body, ultimately is to awaken us to who we truly are beyond pain, to the stillness, the presence, and the unshakable awareness that remains untouched by the storms of emotion. It shows us where healing is needed, and in doing so, guides us back to the wholeness that is our true nature. The pain body can be understood as a reservoir of old emotional pain that continues to live inside us long after the original event has passed. It is not just a memory, but an energy field that gets stored within the body and mind. Almost like an echo of past suffering waiting to be awakened. This pain can originate from childhood wounds, unresolved traumas, or even smaller moments of hurt that were never fully acknowledged or released. Over time, these fragments of unprocessed emotions gather together and form what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body. A kind of invisible presence that lives beneath the surface of our daily lives. It is important to understand that the pain body is not who we are, yet it often feels as if it is. When it is dormant, it remains in the background and may not be noticeable. But when something in the present moment triggers it, when the emotions can flood us with intensity and make us feel as if we are right back in the original pain. A simple word, or situation can stir up this old energy, and suddenly we are overcome with anger, sadness, resentment, or fear that seems disproportionate to what is actually happening. In that moment, the pain body takes over and begins to color the way we perceive the world. It can distort our interactions, fuel arguments, and lead to choices we later regret. By defining the pain body as this accumulation of emotional residue, we begin to separate our true sense of self from the pain itself. We see that it is something carried within us, but it does not define our essence. This awareness opens the possibility of observing it directly rather than unconsciously being consumed by it. The pain activated when certain situations in the present moment resonate with resolved emotions from the past, the resolutions from the past. These triggers can be subtle or intense, but they share a common function. They awaken the dormant energy of accumulated pain. When this happens, relinquish. The reaction that follows is rarely proportional to the event itself. Relinquish. A small disagreement with a loved one can unleash disproportionate anger. Or a passing remark from a colleague can ignite deep feelings of rejection or unworthiness. Relinquish. This is because the pain body does not respond to what is happening now. Relinquish. It responds to the memory and imprint of old wounds that still live within us. Relinquish. It pulls us back into patterns of emotional reaction that we may not fully understand in the moment. Triggers can come in many forms, such as criticism, neglect, or even reminders of loneliness, and when they strike, relinquish. The pain body feeds on the emotions that arise. It grows stronger as we identify with it, as we believe the story it tells us, and as we react in ways that perpetuate conflict or deepen our suffering. The activation can feel overwhelming. As if a storm of emotions suddenly takes possession of the mind and body. Thoughts become colored by resentment, fear, or judgment. And the person experiencing it may even feel driven to say or do things that create more drama or harm. Recognizing that these triggers awaken something old within us, rather than being solely caused by the present situation, allows a new level of awareness. We begin to understand that much of what we feel in those moments is not about the now, but about the past seeking expression. And this insight begins the process of loosening the grip of the pain body. The pain body survives by feeding on certain kinds of energy, particularly negativity, conflict, and emotional drama. When it is triggered, relinquish. It seeks to sustain itself by drawing us into situations where these emotions are present and amplified. Relinquish. This is why people often find themselves repeating the same painful cycles in relationships, friendships, or even within their own inner dialogue. The pain body is not rational. Relinquish. When it is not concerned with peace or resolution, relinquish, but rather with perpetuating its existence through emotional charge. Arguments that escalate beyond reason, relinquish. Feelings of resentment that linger far longer than they should, relinquish. And inner criticism that keeps us trapped in guilt or shame are all examples of the pain body's hunger being satisfied. In those moments, it almost feels as though something takes over, pushing us toward conflict, even when a part of us longs for harmony. The cycle continues because the pain body thrives on unconscious identification. Relinquish. When we mistake its energy for our own identity, we unknowingly become its host. It wants more anger, more fear, more grief, relinquish. And so it influences our perception to find reasons to feel these emotions, relinquish. A neutral situation may suddenly appear hostile, relinquish. A minor inconvenience may become unbearable, relinquish. Or a small mistake may be magnified into evidence of failure, relinquish. This is not the truth of the moment, but the distortion of the pain. Body looking for food, relinquish. In this way, it creates a loop where suffering leads to more suffering, relinquish, often passed on to those around us, relinquish. This cycle of feeding and reacting keeps individuals and even entire groups of people locked in patterns of hostility, resentment, and division. When we begin to see how the pain body operates, that we can recognize its cycle and the way it perpetuates suffering, awareness is the key that begins to dissolve the power of the pain body, because it shifts us from conscious reaction to conscious reaction, away to conscious observation, away to relinquish. When the pain body is triggered, relinquish. It usually takes over the mind and emotions so completely that we believe its energy is who we are, relinquish. But the moment we bring awareness to it, relinquish. A space is created between our true self and the rising emotional storm, relinquish. This space allows us to notice what is happening without immediately reacting, to witness the surge of anger, sadness, or fear as it arises, simply naming it internally, such as saying to oneself, this is the pain body, can break the spell of identification and remind us that this energy is not our essence, The act of observing weakens its hold, because the pain body cannot thrive under the light of presence, relinquish. It depends on unconsciousness, on our tendency to act out and feed it through conflict or negative thoughts, but awareness starves it of that fuel. Instead of fueling the cycle, we sit with the sensation, allow it to exist, relinquish, and watch as it passes through us like a wave that eventually loses momentum, This practice requires patience because the pull of the pain body can be intense, Yet each moment of awareness strengthens our ability to remain present. Over time, we become less reactive, more able to see when old wounds are being stirred, relinquish, and more grounded in the recognition that we have a choice in how we respond, Awareness transforms the relationship we have with our inner pain from one of identification to one of witnessing. And in that witnessing, healing begins, relinquish. The more consistently we bring presence to these moments, the less power the pain body has to control our behavior and perception, the pain body can be seen not only as a burden, but unconscious teacher that reveals where unconsciousness is still living within us. Quish. Each time it arises, quish, when exposes areas of our being that still carry unresolved wounds or unprocessed emotions, relinquish. Instead of treating it solely as an enemy, relinquish. We can begin to view it as a guide pointing to the parts of ourselves that need attention, quish, compassion, and healing. When the pain body surfaces, quish, it often highlights hidden beliefs about ourselves, about others, quish, and about life that we may not have questioned before, quish. These beliefs are often rooted in fear, inadequacy, or resentment, quish, and the intensity of the pain body brings them to light. In this sense, quish, its activation is like a mirror reflecting what is still unhealed inside us, relinquish. By bringing conscious awareness to these moments, quish, we can learn from them rather than being consumed by them, quish. The pain body teaches us patience because resisting it only makes it stronger, quish, and presence because observing it dissolves its power. It also teaches humility, relinquish, because it reminds us that every human being carries wounds and struggles, quish, which can deepen our sense of empathy toward others, quish. When we recognize the universality of this inner pain, relinquish, we begin to see more clearly how conflict and suffering in the world are often driven by pain, bodies clashing with one another, quish. This insight can inspire compassion both for ourselves and for those around us, quish, because we see that people are often acting out of unconscious pain rather than deliberate malice, quish. In this way, the pain body becomes a profound teacher, quish, turning suffering into an opportunity for growth, awakening, quish, and greater understanding of the human condition as presence grows within us, quish. The grip of the pain body begins to weaken and eventually dissolve, quish, opening the way to freedom and inner peace. The process does not happen overnight, relinquish, but with each moment of awareness, quish, the identification with old emotional pain loosens, quish. Instead of being dragged into the repetitive cycles of reactivity, quish, we begin to notice a stillness underneath, relinquish, a deeper dimension of our being that remains untouched by the storms of the pain body, quish. This realization marks the beginning of liberation, relinquish, because we discover that our true essence is not defined by suffering, but by awareness itself, quish. The more we cultivate presence, quish, the more space we create between ourselves and the emotions that arise, quish, allowing us to choose conscious responses rather than automatic reactions. Over time, the pain body finds less and less to feed on, because we are no longer unconsciously supplying it with drama, negativity, or conflict. Relationships begin to transform as well, relinquish, because we are no longer projecting unresolved wounds onto others or reacting to theirs without awareness. This creates an atmosphere where genuine connection, understanding, and compassion can flourish. Freedom from the pain, body also deepens our sense of inner clarity, because our perception is no longer clouded by the residue of the past. We can experience life more directly, with a greater sense of presence and appreciation for the now. The weakening of the pain body also reveals a profound sense of wholeness, relinquish, as we are no longer defined by fragments of old hurt, but connected to the unshakable ground of being that is always here. Relinquish. This freedom is not about escaping pain altogether, but about seeing it for what it is and no longer allowing it to dominate our inner and outer lives.